Oh man, I love this show so much. Season one is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. If we're talking about establishing a postmodern tonality, um, a sentimental postmodern tonality, Dawson's Creek season one is extraordinary. It accomplishes this compositional, structural, thematic feat extraordinarily well. If you can, purchase physical copies of the first season. I have the DVDs because it retains the original theme song. That I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. It has that. So of course on Hulu and streaming and future DVD releases of subsequent seasons, it does not have that original theme song. I don't mind the replacement song. You get used to it after a while, but there's something about hearing "I Don't Want to Wait" that ignites all of the feels in the world. Also, I was listening to the commentary track on the season finale with Kevin Williamson, and if you follow my channel at all, you know I love to do these postmodern readings of his work. I'm probably Kevin Williamson's biggest fan. Um, just shamelessly, I absolutely love his vision, his work, what he did for art, specifically postmodern teen art and horror films. But it's really funny. Let me just pull it up on my phone so that I don't quote him completely incorrectly, because on the commentary he acts like what an absolute legend. This is a quote from Kevin. "We knew all the four-syllable words like all the other pop psychologists inside of everyone. We started commenting on it. We started commenting on ourselves, commenting on everyone else. Is that postmodern? I hate that word because I don't even know what it means." Now, I think it's really funny that Kevin Williamson, someone who I have long held up to be this like postmodern cinematic prophet, you know, one of the greatest postmodern thinkers in American media, hates the term, hates the word postmodern because he kind of he refuses it upon definition, because the word does seem to have many. The word postmodern you'd have to deconstruct to even get to what postmodernism means, which is probably the most ironic thing about postmodernism in art. I think that's really curious. But what's always separated Kevin Williamson is that he's a postmodern sentimentalist. He's Frank Capra of Cape Side. He's Dawson Leary. So Dawson's Creek, I think I'm never ironic when I say this, when I claim that every cinephile owes it to themselves to watch Dawson's Creek, because much like he would do in films like Scream and films like The Faculty, Dawson's Creek is kind of a study of the punished cinephile, of a cinephile outgrowing his Peter Pan syndrome. Dawson Leary is a die-hard Steven Spielberg obsessive. And also on the commentary, Kevin Williamson expressed how many hoops they had to jump through in order for them to use Steven Spielberg posters and reference him so much. In fact, like Spielberg wanted a copy of each script, and Williamson had to send him like a glowing, saccharine tribute of a letter requesting permission to use his properties in their teen soap opera. Basically claiming that you're the reason that I'm doing anything, that you're my hero, that kind of thing. And I do buy that to a certain extent. I do buy that Kevin Williamson is a huge Steven Spielberg fan, or I buy, and he might hate that I'm going to use the word postmodern, but I buy that in a postmodern sense, and the idea that he wouldn't be the same without the Spielberg sentimentality that he had to deconstruct in order to reach maturity. Because maturity is really deconstructing adolescence. That's how you reach maturity. And Dawson Leary, it's very difficult to watch him in this season as he kind of leaps between the blonde and the brunette, well, he makes all these terrible decisions. It makes you want to cringe the way he acts, and I think mostly because a cinephile can see themselves in Dawson. Dawson sees his life cinematically. He thinks that films have elevated real life and vice versa. Real life has elevated films. He's very insecure about sexuality. He has this wonderful part in the pilot talking about sex. Why is everyone so interested in sex? If sex is so important, why doesn't Spielberg have a sex scene in any of his movies? He keeps it in its proper place in film, as we should in life, even though his father explains to him sex is a huge part of who we are as human beings. Dawson Leary is the ultimate punished cinephile. I've often said if he was in a Scream film, if he was a Scream character, he would be the killer. He's that kind of personality. But of course, here we're dealing with a teen soap opera, and James Van Der Beek, Michelle Williams, Joshua Jackson, Katie Holmes are all extraordinary. Especially Joshua Jackson and Katie Holmes. You can really feel something incredible between the two of them. In fact, my favorite part of the entire season is from the double date episode where Pacey starts getting feels for Joey, and they're in her kitchen, and he says, I tell you what, though, don't bet against that Potter girl. I tell you what, though, don't bet against that Potter girl. That's a moment that just makes me smile ear to ear. Puts a strong light on my day. And of course, Dawson and Joey are the two who have a long, tortured subtext together. And Dawson's Creek, every episode of this season, and I believe of seasons 2 and 3 for the most part, possibly 4, they set it up, the pre-credits, the cold open is always Dawson and most normally Joey watching a film, finding ways to apply it to their own life, either ironically, cynically, and going from there, setting deconstruction as the tone for each episode. In fact, they overanalyze their lives until they can distance themselves from the emotional eclipses of their coming of age, of that experience. And Kevin Williamson is quite fascinating here. We see a lot of the motifs and tropes that Williamson will experiment with in future films. I just brought up Pacey's relationship with Miss Jacobs, his teacher. This is a trope that was experimented with in The Vampire Diaries and The Faculty, in like an unused plot thread in Scream 4. Kevin Williamson really likes that trope of and actually most normally like an older woman and a younger man. He likes this trope a lot, and we are able to do some deep philosophical kind of pop psychology as well through this D student with a Julius Caesar haircut, this punchline of a misunderstood joke. Pacey really is such an incredible character, and Joshua Jackson probably lays down the best performance of this season. I think overall, Michelle Williams gives the best performance of the show, like if we can combine every season together, and then followed by Katie Holmes and Kurt Smith. But Joshua Jackson shines in season 1. He's incredible here. So much charisma, so much roguish charm. I love Joshua Jackson. He's delightful, absolutely delightful. Dawson's Creek, the best episodes for me is the pilot, the detention episode, and the final episode, Decisions. I love how the pilot and Decisions are bookended. In fact, like we have a tracking shot moving closer to Dawson's house to open up the pilot, and at the end of Decisions, the final episode of the season, we are moving away from that. And of course, Joey and Dawson are kissing each other in the window, silhouetted quite beautifully, actually. Detention, my favorite character on the entire show is Abby, played by Monica Keena, and Detention, oh, hello, Abby. That's such a cool episode. And that's another motif that Williamson would use later on in films like The Faculty. It's a Breakfast Club kind of episode. And of course, in The Faculty, he weaponizes the Breakfast Club, and here he deconstructs the Breakfast Club quite remarkably. Abby is such a great character. I love Abby so much. She's the best character on Dawson's Creek, and Monica Keena. Um, yeah. Can I go back in time and marry Monica Keena in 1998? That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool if that were possible. I'd do it in a heartbeat. She's amazing and like super hot. Mm. Drink my coffee to quench my thirst, shameless thirst for Monica Keena over here. But this season is really good. In fact, you can stop. I don't think you should stop watching Dawson's Creek after season 1 because I think season 2 and season 3 are a lot better. I think it peaks in season 2 around the Abby Morgan climax of Abby's character arc. I think that's where it peaks in complete quality. And also, Williamson leaves the show at that point as well. He kind of leaves around the end of season 2. Season 3, that's just that's the most iconic examples of Dawson's Creek. That's what people normally think of when they think of Dawson's Creek, are things that occurred in season 3, and that's a very, very good season. I think just it did peak philosophically at some point in season 2, most likely at the end of Abby's character arc, for me personally. But season 1 is excellent example of how to lay down tonality, and if you did stop watching after this season, that's when you get the Spielberg sentimentality. Because things don't really go as planned. Things don't really go as planned from here. If you want that happy ending, if you want like a whimsical, sentimental feeling of wonder, stop watching after season 1 because it's going to get complicated. Just imagine Dawson and Joey forever in that window kissing each other. Because that's your happy ending. That's Frank Capra of Cape Side giving you the happy ending. And if you decide to go on, oh man, you are in for a postmodern roller coaster. Season 1 is great. Season 1 is excellently set up. Lays the seeds for a lot of future storylines, for a lot of transgressions, a lot of attractions, so many wonderful things, so many wonderful music moments. As a piece of postmodern art, it's stunning. It is stunning. I love that Kevin Williamson claims to despise the word postmodernism because he expertly conveys it. He's an expert postmodernist. Dawson's Creek is transcendentally good, and season 1 is outrageously well designed. I love this season. And to reiterate, every cinephile, if you're watching my channel and you think that I cover Dawson's Creek ironically, get the fuck out of here. There's the door. Leave. Dawson's Creek is probably better than your favorite. You need to watch it. You learn so much from this movie. From this television series, from this work of art. You can learn so much from Kevin Williamson, especially from Dawson's Creek. And even if you just watch the first season, you could learn so much from this season. So much about life, about art, about structure, about philosophy, about romance, about how cute Katie Holmes was back then. About so many things. It's invaluable. Dawson's Creek, I'm glad to call it my favorite show of all time. Because it hits. It hits so good. I tell you what. Don't bet against that Williamson guy. Because he'll surprise you. Oh man. Thanks for watching this video. This is Film Lovers Are Sick People, and I'm gonna blame the movies. Dawson's Creek. What a masterpiece. What a masterwork. Absolute hero.